Hey fam, welcome back. In this video, we have more goodies from my collection. This video is going to feature all of my crazy foundations. So if you love foundations like I do, and you want to see all the foundations in my collection, go ahead and stay tuned. We're going to get into it right now. All right, y'all, so we are back with my foundation collection. It is ridiculous. And we're gonna go over it. I personally am a humongous fan of foundation. I don't know what my problem is. I freaking love foundation. I love trying new foundations. I love trying out different formulas. I love it. I love everything about foundation, and I'm a hot mess. You can see I have this huge amount that won't even fit into this gigantic basket that is literally overflowing. It is out of control. So we're just gonna go ahead and take a look, kind of take inventory of what I have to kind of remind myself as well of some foundations I probably need to get some more use out of. And I'll give you what thoughts I can on the ones that I've tried. So let's begin. We might as well start with the ones here out on the table. The first one I have is by Tarte. It is the Concealer Multitasking Foundation. Mine is in the shade 22B Light Beige. This product, you just twist and it pops right up. And this foundation is a pretty decent shade match for me. However, I do find that the formula is a little bit thick and it is a little bit shiny. I do like a dewy finish. This one can get a little bit too dewy on me, but I do like it and I look forward to continuing to use it. Next, we have this one by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Luminous Foundation. Mine is in the shade 220N. I also think this one is a pretty good shade match for me. It's a little bit darker than the one we just were talking about, but also like the Concealer, it is a little bit way dewy on me. And I do like that, but it is one I need to like set a bit more with powder. But I do like the formula and happy to have it. Next, we have the Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie Longwear Foundation and Concealer. This is one I have never used. So this is one in my collection I definitely need to get some use out of. I've just been kind of sticking to trying to test some of my drugstore foundations, and I've been neglecting my high-end ones a bit. Ooh, so this one is a pretty big pump, and it looks like it's a pretty good shade match for me. This is the shade LN6. When I got this one from Ulta, it was a little less overwhelming shopping from Ulta because they didn't carry as many shades as Pure has. They have 100 shades in this foundation. It does look very luminous. This is a full coverage foundation, but at least it's not like cakey or anything. But I just can't believe what a big pump that is. You know, like a lot of products, you'll get this little tiny bit of product to work with. This one was like a gigantic amount of foundation that comes out. So just be really careful when you're pumping it. You may end up getting more than you need. This one also does screw off to reveal a doe foot applicator, which you can use to put on as concealer if you would like to. This next one is by Dolce & Gabbana. This is the Lift Foundation, Perfect Reveal Lift Foundation. This I picked up from TJ Maxx. It's also a pretty decent shade match. It's a little bit light on me. And the formula feels very thick and glossy. So I think this would be a very hydrating foundation and look very luminous on the skin. It is a little bit more pale, but this could be great for winter for me. And my face is definitely a little bit different of a shade than my arms and hands, so I think this will be a pretty good shade match. And if this does turn out to be a little bit light, I can always mix it with other foundations to improve the shade. As you know, with TJ Maxx, you kind of have what's there to pick from. So this was, I thought, a decent enough shade match for me that I could go ahead and pick it up to give it a try. So this next foundation is from Beauty Bakery. It's the Instabake Aqua Glow Foundation. And this one is a little bit lighter as well, but not a bad shade match. It is a thicker formula and it's more full coverage, but it really gives you like a glass skin effect. Next, I have this one by MAC. This is the MAC Match Master SPF 15 Foundation. This is in the shade 2.0. This is an older foundation in my collection. You can see it's definitely seen better days. And I basically just hang on to this as a mixer now. Back in the day when I was shade matched, I think there was like a different theory on makeup where they wanted makeup to like match your body when I was shade matched for this. This is so dark on me, but I do think it's a nice mixer when I have a foundation that's a little bit too light. Next, I have this one by Dior. This is the Dior Backstage Face and Body Foundation. Mine is in the shade 2W. I really wanted 2 Neutral when I got it, but that was out of stock, and so I just picked this one up. It's one of the first foundations that I purchased when I was starting my collection, and at the time I didn't really know how important undertone was. But you can see this is definitely a little too dark for me. I wish I would have gotten Neutral, but it'll be a nice mixing foundation, and it does sheer out pretty well. It's like a pretty light coverage foundation, so it's really not too bad. Next, I have this one here by Pat McGrath. This is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. This is a really beautiful glass bottle, and I really like this foundation quite a bit. This is obviously like a much better shade match, you can see. And this has got a much thinner formula. It's definitely more skin-like. It is a buildable foundation. It's not nearly as full coverage, and I really love this formula. It's super moisturizing. It looks beautiful on the skin. And this can be a bit of a polarizing product. There are people that don't like this foundation. I personally love it, and I don't know why people don't like it, but everybody has different preferences and different skin, but this one does work really well on me. Next, I have this foundation from Bobbi Brown. This is the Intensive Skin Serum Foundation. This is another one that I picked up from TJ Maxx. This is a really light shade, but because it's a pretty soft, light formula, it doesn't really matter too much, and I can always mix this with like the Dior Face and Body because I think they're pretty similar. This one is more of a sheer glowy coverage, but it leaves such a gorgeous like glow on the skin. I think it's really beautiful. Next, I have these 2 stick foundations from Hourglass. This is the Vanish foundation. I have the shade Vanilla and the shade Alabaster. I like to mix these because Alabaster is a bit too light for me. I think Vanilla is a much better shade match. But these are also great just to kind of put around your skin in areas you want things to be a little lighter or darker. I think Vanilla is like pretty much like perfect for me. It's a little teeny bit on the peachy side, but I think they mix really well together. Next, from Dior, I have the Forever Skin Glow. Mine is in the shade 2N. So this is the shade I would have liked the Dior Face and Body to be. I think this is a pretty good shade match for my skin. And it's a really pretty formula, very satiny, but like thin and medium coverage. This next one is from Guerlain. It is the L'Essentiel Natural Glow Foundation. This is another one I have not tried yet. I picked this up somewhat recently. I got very tempted by Julia Adams and Michelle Wong and their thoughts on this foundation, so I definitely wanted to try it. And I like the formula. It seems like it would be like more of a satin finish, but still really glowy, just absolutely beautiful. And I really like the way it feels, very silky. Next, we have this one from Shiseido. This is the Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation. Mine is in the shade 150 Lace. And I was definitely a little concerned at first that this might be a color on me that is just a little bit too light, but it actually does look really nice on my skin. And I do find that it kind of does sync up. I think it's like a really good shade match. And it does look a little bit more matte, but it has got a beautiful finish. It does look very flawless on the skin, and I really like this formula. Next, we have the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. Mine is in the shade 2. I do think this foundation is a little bit light, possibly for my skin. Yeah. I wish I would have gone to a little bit of a deeper shade, but it is a really beautiful formula. I found in the past that this foundation does break up on me very quickly and easily. It does also look a little bit too glowy sometimes as the day goes on. But now that I have the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer, I think maybe it will last a little better on my skin, but the shade is definitely a little too light for me. And when I do go through this product, which will take me a while since I've only used it a few times, I definitely would want to get a deeper shade. Next, we have the MAC Mineralize Moisture SPF 15 Foundation. This is in NW20. This I found at TJ Maxx, so again, a warm shade, which I am more cool neutral. But I do like that I have this because I think this would be a good mixing foundation. It's a little bit potentially deep on me, though it may be a perfect shade. I'm not really sure, but I think I could definitely like mix this with another foundation if I needed to correct the shade if it is a little off. But I think it looks pretty decent actually. Next, we have this one by Givenchy. This is the Photo Perfection Fluid Foundation, and mine is in the shade Too Perfect Petal. This is a discontinued color. I think this is probably just like too rosy of a shade and they just discontinued it. But I actually really like it because I do have a pink undertone to my skin. I like that this is a little bit salmony. And I love this formula. I love the finish on the skin. I think this is really beautiful. But it's just like a little bit pinky. Doesn't look bad on me, but it does like oxidize a little bit pinker. But I do think this could also be really nice to mix with other foundations. It's just really beautiful, like a gorgeous, glowy, satiny finish. Next, I have this one from Clinique. This is the Even Better Makeup Broad Spectrum SPF 15. Mine is in the shade Warm Neutral 04. And this is one I definitely want to test a bit more. I haven't used this foundation in a hot minute, and I can't remember if I even like it. So I definitely want to pull this soon and try it on my skin, see if I should keep it around. It's definitely a bit warm. The foundation itself feels a little bit slippery, like it might be like a little bit skin blurring. It does appear to be a medium coverage. It's blending out really well with my finger here. And it's a little warm on me, but it might be good as a mixer. I'm going to try it on its own, see if I want to hang on to it. I do like that beautiful finish though. It's very pretty. Next, we have this Laura Geller Filter First Foundation, Luminous Foundation. This one was recommended to me by an associate at Ulta when I was first picking out some foundations to try. She said this was in her kit for brides. I don't know how I feel about this foundation. It's a little thick. I do want to try it a little bit more, and this I was shade match for as well. I think it is a little bit potentially deep on my skin, but could be a nice mixer. I have another foundation that's a little bit more moisturizing, and I thought about combining these two. I do want to try that still. But this is another one that I want to test on my skin, see what I think about it, see if I want to hang on to it. And yeah, if not, I'll go ahead and declutter it. Now moving into the basket, this is the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. This one is in the shade Salzburg. I do think that this shade might be a little bit too light for me. I was also shade matched for this one. It's not a bad color, but I'm not sure if it's perfect for me. But I do really love this formula. I love this foundation. I do find that it stays on my skin all day. It does look a little bit more glowy as you wear it longer, but it starts out a little bit more matte, I think, in my opinion. It's a pretty, I'd say medium coverage, or it can be sheared out to medium coverage, and you can probably also build this up to like a more full coverage formula. But I do like the weight of this. It's like a thinner formula, but it's still really silky. I really like this one. Next, we have this one by Gucci. This is Gucci Face Satin Matte Foundation. Mine is in the shade 040. This is another one I found at TJ Maxx. I couldn't pass it up, even though it is too light for me. And matte, which I don't typically like. But I figured this could be like another good mixing foundation. It is definitely a little bit more on the full coverage side. It's got a thicker formula. You get some opacity there, but it's definitely a warm shade. It's definitely not the perfect shade for me, but it was Gucci and I really wanted to try it. So picked it up, and we'll see how it works maybe as like a winter shade. See if I can get this to work on my skin. Next, we have a favorite from the drugstore. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. This is beautiful. Mine is in the shade 445 Vanilla. It is beautiful on the skin. I do find that this very much does last well on my skin, especially with that e.l.f. primer that I love, the Jelly Pop. And I just think this is a beautiful formula. It does look a little dark on me, but I do think it works pretty well. And it also could be nice mixed in with some other foundations if I wanted to make other foundations darker. But I absolutely love the way this looks on my skin, and I really enjoy wearing it. I think it's really beautiful. Next, we have another Bobbi Brown foundation that I found at TJ Maxx. This is the Skin Foundation with SPF 15. I love this one. I think this looks really pretty on the skin. I think it's a pretty good shade match for me. Maybe a little bit on the warm side, but still really beautiful. It really does look very natural. It's a thinner formula, and it just blends beautifully. I think this is really gorgeous on my skin. I really enjoy using it. Next, I have the Airbrush Flawless Foundation from Charlotte Tilbury. This is definitely a bit too yellow, and I also am not crazy about this on its own. I think this formula is just way too makeup-y for my preferences, and it's also a little bit deep on me. I really like using this in combination with the Light Wonder foundation. It just can add a bit more coverage and flawlessness in areas where you need just a bit more coverage. I think they work really, really well together, and it helps tone down some of this yellowness of this foundation. A little bit of this goes a very long way, in my opinion. Next, we have NYX's Born to Glow. Mine is in this shade Alabaster, and it is a bit too light for me. I wish I would have chosen a deeper shade. I like the formula of this so far, but it's hard to tell if I really love this product with it being the wrong shade for me. But it is a really glowy formula. I do think it's a nice medium coverage, light to medium coverage. It sheers out pretty nicely, but I definitely need a deeper shade in this foundation. Very pretty finish though. Next we have another one by Guerlain. This is Lingerie de Peau Natural Perfection Foundation. I love this. It is so beautiful. It's a little bit more of a matte foundation. Not matte, but I'd say a natural finish foundation. But I really love it, even though it's not super duper glowy. It's so beautiful on the skin. It smells amazing. I love this foundation. Guerlain is so bougie. Mine is in the shade 02N. And this is a beautiful, beautiful formula. It's very silky, beautiful finish. And I think the color is decent on me. It might be a little bit, looks a little warm on camera, but the shade actually looks really pretty on my face. Next we have this one from CoverGirl. You can see I've made a bit of a dent in this one. This is the Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation. This is a fantastic product. This has been discontinued now, and I honestly don't know why, because so many people love this foundation. I've heard people rave about this. I personally like it. I don't reach for this all the time because I'm not sure if this possibly was breaking me out a bit. I want to keep trying it because I really do love the way this looks on my skin, and I'm hoping that it maybe wasn't this that was giving me breakouts. It is a bit of a deeper formula, but that's also kind of nice because I have some foundations that are a little too light for me. This looks really beautiful and natural on the skin, and I think it just has a gorgeous finish as well. I love all of these foundations, or I would have decluttered them, and the few that I have that I haven't tried yet, obviously I'm excited to try. Next I have this one from Becca. This is the Evermatte Shine Proof Foundation. Mine is in the shade Cashmere. This is another one I picked up from TJ Maxx. I don't typically wear matte foundations, but I don't really have any other matte foundations other than the Gucci one. So I wanted to hang on to this in case I have any foundations that are a little bit too glowy that I need to mattify a bit more. I figured that it might help, but this honestly doesn't even seem like it's that matte of a foundation. It still has a nice shine to it. It's a very glossy formula, but I figured it would be helpful to have one matte foundation in case my skin is a little more oily on some days. Next we have this one from Laura Mercier. This is the Flawless Lumiere Radiance Perfecting Foundation. Mine is in the shade 1C1 Shell. I do like this foundation. I think it can be really beautiful. This is definitely a little bit pinkier, like a more of a salmon shade, which is more in line with my skin tone than the more yellowy shades. So I do really like this on my face. You can see it's not as shiny. It's more of a satin finish or a natural finish, but I do think it's a really, really beautiful foundation. You see how it catches the light. It's just a beautiful product, and I really enjoy wearing this. Next, we have the Light Wonder Foundation from Charlotte Tilbury. This is in the shade 4 Fair. And this one I do like. It's a very pretty formula, but I wish it had a touch more coverage at times. But it is really beautiful. It's a really good shade match, I think, at least for my hand. It looks like it fits my undertones pretty well. But you can see that it does lack a little bit of coverage. I find that if I use this one with the Flawless Airbrush Finish Foundation from Charlotte Tilbury, the two of them are like a match made in heaven. I really enjoy using them together, and I love how glowy that is. So pretty. Next, I have these two from Becca. This is the Becca Aqualuminous Perfecting Foundation. I have the shades Fair and the shade Beige. These are more of like a serum-like product. You can see when you twist it, the little button pops up. And you just use that button to kind of pump foundation into this little tube, little dropper style application. This one is beige. And I actually like to mix these two colors. This one is definitely a bit deeper. And then this is the fair shade, which is a little bit better of a color match. It's a little bit yellow for me, but I like combining these two, and it just looks super dewy and glowy on the skin. It's a very kind of like light to medium coverage, more of like a, probably more on the light side than the medium side. But I do really like this foundation. It looks really beautiful on the skin. I definitely need to reach for these a bit more often. And I think I'll get more use out of them in the winter when my skin's a little bit more dry. I think I'll really like how illuminating these are. Next, we have another favorite from the drugstore. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation. This is for normal to oily skin. Mine is in the shade 122 Creamy Beige. This foundation is like one of my favorites. Even though I don't have normal to oily skin, I find that this doesn't really get all that matte. I think it's just really beautiful. The only thing I really don't like is the fact that it's like a pour out foundation. I wish it had a pump. The color does look a little bit deep on me, but it's really not. It does fit me pretty well. Haha, fit me. I just think it's a pretty good shade match for me. And I really love this formula. I wasn't as big of a fan of the dewy one. I found that it just broke up on my skin too much, but I really love the matte and poreless. I think it's really beautiful. It's definitely the one I recommend the most from Maybelline, whether you have oily skin or dry skin. I really love it. Next, we have this one from Neutrogena. This is the Hydra Boost Hydrating Tint with Hyaluronic Acid Foundation. This is beautiful. You can see I've made quite the dent in this one. I use this one a lot. Mine is in the shade Buff 30, and I think this is a fantastic shade match for me. The doe foot came broken when I bought it, which I don't like because it makes it hard to use. But I just make do. And this is one I would consider repurchasing after I got through more foundations, but definitely can't believe I've already used up like half of this. But the shade is really beautiful. I love this formula. It's very like moussey almost, but it really does just affix to the skin. I've washed so many foundations off my skin today that my skin's getting a little weird, but it's very like, it's got like a beautiful finish. It looks a little patchy right now because like I said, I've wiped this hand off so many times with a baby wipe, but this is really truly beautiful. Look at that gorgeous finish. I love this foundation. Next, we have another one from the drugstore. This is the Maybelline Dream Radiant Liquid Hydrating Foundation. It's got hyaluronic acid. This is in the shade 10 Porcelain Ivory. This one I don't think has SPF. I think the other one that's like this is the one that has the 50 SPF. But this one, I wasn't sure if I liked it at first. When I first put it on my skin, I'm not crazy about the way it looks, but as it sits on my skin, I think it looks so much better. The shade match is pretty darn good with my undertones. It's definitely more on that salmony pink side, which matches my neutral with pink undertones skin. It's really beautiful. It is a little bit more full coverage and the formula is a little bit thicker, but it really is beautiful. I don't know if I would repurchase it again just because I don't reach for it that often. But once I do use it and let it sit on my skin a little bit, I like it so much better. So I'm excited to continue to use this. Maybe it'll become a favorite at some point. Next, we have this one from Milani. This is the Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer, and mine is in the shade 00 Light Natural. This is one I've almost decluttered, and this is one that is kind of still on the chopping block. I need to use this more and see if I even like it. Right now, I'm not really sure that I do. It's a little thick and it's a little bit matte for me. But it is pretty. I remember when I used it before, I did like it. And at one point, this was a really like hyped product on YouTube, which is why I picked it up. It does have a pretty satin finish, and maybe I'll like this a lot. I pulled it out of my last declutter because I just wanted to try it some more, and I haven't really reached for it. So I definitely need to try this, see if it works for my skin, and if not, I definitely need to move this out of my collection. But I'm definitely willing to give it some more time and another try. Next, we have another chopping block foundation. This one's from L'Oreal. This is the Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. This one I picked up because I was watching Desi Perkins talk about her favorite drugstore foundations, and she talked about using this one specifically to mattify areas where her foundation would break up. And I thought that was just brilliant, and then realized I'm not the kind of person to go in with like custom foundation application so much. So I do want to try this some more. I want to see if this will work on my skin, even though it's mattifying. And if I don't like it, I want to pass this one along, but I definitely need to get some more use out of it, kind of get my thoughts together on it and see if I even want to hang on to this. I feel like when I have tried it, I've liked it, but I haven't reached for it in such a long time that I just feel like I don't know what my thoughts are on it. So I definitely want to try it, see what I think, and then make a decision from there. Next, we have these two Pretty Fresh tinted moisturizers from ColourPop. I have the shade Fair 4N and this shade Light 8N. This shade is the one I bought first. It's definitely too light for me, so I picked up 8N to mix with it, and I think together these are a pretty good shade match for me. I recently used this foundation in my Get Ready With Me that I posted a couple videos ago, and I do like the way this looks on my skin. I think if you like a light foundation, like a tinted moisturizer type thing, this is not a bad product. Some folks like it better than others. I don't mind it at all. It isn't one I reach for all the time, but I don't mind having this in my collection, and I like it when I use it. It's definitely nice for those days that you just don't have a lot of time for muss or fuss. This one is 8N, My tubes are very messy. And I have 4N. So there is like quite a difference in those shades, but when you mix them together, I think it's a much better shade. And I typically like to go over this with a sponge, like I'll put it on with a brush and then go over it with a sponge. But I think once it's all blended out, it's a pretty good shade. And I think you can get quite a bit of coverage from this. It's still light and it'll blend out with your hands or a brush or whatever you want to use, but I think it's a decent formula. Next we have the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Foundation. This is Luminous Makeup Nude Skin Feel. Mine is in the shade Ivory L2, and this is a beautiful foundation. My only complaint in the past has been with the longevity of this, but now that I have that e.l.f. primer, I think I might be able to get this to last a little bit longer. I think it's a pretty good shade on me. It's a really luminous, beautiful foundation, and I really like this formula very much. I also like mixing this with the Fenty matte foundation for a more full coverage look. No more than one pump though of the Fenty foundation or it will get cakey and very unpleasant very quickly. But with a little bit of the Fenty, I do think it's a really pretty mixture. And I really like this on its own when I don't have to have my foundation on for very long. But I think now, like I said, with the e.l.f. primer, I might get some more longevity out of this one. Next, we have the L'Oreal Magic Skin Beautifier BB Cream. This is in Light Clair. This is a funky little BB cream. It starts out white and it's supposed to match your skin. I do like this formula and I think the finish is really pretty too, and it does blend pretty well to become more like your skin tone. You just have to kind of like work it into the skin for a little bit. And it does like blend out to be your skin tone. It's got a little bit of a white cast, but I don't really feel like that happens on the skin. I do feel like it like continues to adjust. And I think it can be really, really pretty. I do like this like light coverage, glowy, dewy finish. It's nice for like those light makeup days. Next we have another one from Neutrogena. This is the Healthy Skin Liquid Makeup. This is another one I just wore the other day. I really, really like it. Mine's in the shade Natural Ivory 20. This one, I don't like the fact that it's another one that pours out, but you can see I've actually made quite a dent on this one. But this is another one that's a very nice shade match for me. It's got that like pinky salmony undertone that just kind of brings out the pink in my skin. And it does look really, really beautiful on the face. It's more of a like medium to full, I guess. Definitely can sheer it out, but it's a little bit more of like a thicker formula. Really pretty finish, very glowy, very healthy looking, as the name would suggest. And I really do love the finish on this. I love this foundation. I just wish it had a pump. I don't feel like I hear a ton of people talking about Neutrogena products, but I really think they're great, especially their foundations and their powders. I haven't tried anything else from the brand, but I really have liked the foundations I've tried from Neutrogena. Next, we have this Dream Urban cover from Maybelline. This one is the full coverage version and it's got SPF 50 in it. This one I think I like a little bit more than this one. This one is a little bit lighter of a shade. This is in the shade 115 Ivory, and this one is in 10 Porcelain Ivory. So I think I like this more radiant finish than this one that gets a little bit more radiant with time. This is supposed to be more radiant, and this is supposed to be more full coverage and matte, but I think this one looked really pretty when I wore it all last summer. Not the one that just passed, the one before that. And this one I liked when I tried it after it was on my skin for a little bit. Like once my natural oils could come through a little bit, it looked a little bit more radiant. So I don't know. I definitely need to give both of these some more attention and just form strong opinions on them. But I have them. I'm going to continue to use them. Go ahead and swatch this one. See, this one's supposed to be full coverage, but to me it seems pretty light, like a light to medium. I don't really see this as super full coverage. And it's very glossy. I really like this one. I think it's plenty radiant, and I don't know, I like the finish of this one. I just think that this is a very nice formula. Next we have another one from L'Oreal. This is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Healthy Luminous Makeup. I love this foundation. I bought this one because Samantha March had mentioned it was one of her favorite drugstore foundations, and I do really like this one too. It's a little bit deeper than some of my other ones, but I like the finish of this. It's a little bit more satin, but it still has like a really nice glow. I think this is more on like the medium to full coverage. It's giving me a lot of opacity. It's a really pretty formula. I like using this one. Next, I do have the Superstay from Maybelline. Mine is in the shade 120 Classic Ivory. This is another one that I was going to declutter and then decided to hang on to. And I have tried it. It does look really beautiful on the skin. The finish is absolutely stunning. Like you can see how glowy and beautiful that is. It's more on the full coverage side. And this looks absolutely beautiful on the skin. What I don't love about this is that it never really becomes like one with your skin. I feel like if you touch your face during the day, you'll like scrape off a big piece of this foundation. Like it doesn't really like meld with the skin. It just kind of sits on top of it, I feel like. And it makes me not reach for this one as often. I would like to get some more use out of it just to see if I can, I don't know, get more of my money's worth out of this product, but I may end up passing this one along as well. We'll see. Next, from Physicians Formula, I have the Healthy Foundation Brightening Complex. Mine is in the shade LN4. This foundation has a doe foot applicator. It's got a really pretty finish provided that you use a gripping primer. I would definitely recommend like the Milk Makeup with this or the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer. This absolutely smells like paint or something like that. So if you are very sensitive to smell, this could potentially not be a great option for you, but it is a really pretty finish. It just has a beautiful luminosity and just a really pretty finish, but that smell can be a little noxious for sure. Another one from the drugstore I want to get a little bit more use out of is this Infallible Pro Glow from L'Oreal. Mine is in the shade 204, Natural Buff. I do like this foundation. I haven't reached for this in a while. I definitely need to get some more use out of it. It is a little bit glowy. I find that it doesn't like adhere to the skin as like doesn't have the longevity that I wish it had. However, like I said, with that gripping primer, I might be able to get some more life out of this. It's very glowy, very pretty, but it is a bit of a deeper shade for me. One that's a little newer to my collection is this L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation with sunscreen. It's in Beige Rose 30. This one I picked up because of Jessica Braun. She really loved this and I wanted to try it. I do like this formula. I haven't used it a ton because it is a little bit newer. I've had it for a few months, but I have so many foundations, so I mean, just have a lot to get through. But it's a pretty good shade match for me. I really do like this finish. It's like a nice like light to medium, which is my favorite, and I think it's really beautiful. Next we have another Dior foundation. This is the Air Flash. Mine is in the shade 203, and this is basically like a spray can foundation. It's very expensive, so I don't use this hardly ever, but it is so beautiful. It has got like a gorgeous finish. This is like your bridal foundation. Like it's, so gorgeous, but it's very pricey. Another drugstore I have is the Revlon Candid Foundation. This is the Natural Finish Anti-Pollution Foundation. Mine is in 120 Buff, and I really like this foundation. You can see I've gotten quite a bit of use out of it. My tube is getting pretty skinny. But this is just a really nice formula. It's a little bit thicker, but it has a really nice finish. It looks really beautiful on the skin. It's a little bit more of a natural finish, not as glowy, but it is very lovely. The shade is a little light for me, but not terrible. And I do think as it dries down, it definitely like matches a little bit better to my face. The concealer and loose setting powder are also really nice from this line. Next, I have this one from Milk Makeup. This is the Sunshine Skin Tint. I don't think I've used this too much, but it kind of goes on like that. It's a little bit sticky, but it's like kind of like also very glossy and kind of beautiful. So I definitely want to like try this some more and figure out how best to use this. It's a funky little product. I also got this as a gift from my friend Denise. It's really beautiful though. Next is an oldie but a goodie. This is the CoverGirl Clean Matte BB Cream for oily skin. Mine is in the shade 530, light medium. This is one I purchased a hot minute ago, but I do really like it. I don't find that it's that mattifying. I think it's actually kind of like dewy and nice. I really like this on my skin. Maybe it's because it's like a BB cream. It's just moisturizing no matter what. But the finish is definitely like more natural. I don't find it too matte at all. And I think the color's really good on me too. Next we have the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Foundation. I basically picked this up exclusively as a mixer for the Flower Beauty foundation as well as for my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation. I picked this up in this shade, it's I think 150, to try to get that foundation to be a little bit darker on me, but I think I probably should have even picked up a darker shade in this foundation. But this does look really nice mixed with my Flower Beauty foundation, and I'm looking forward to trying it with my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk and see if I can get some more long wear out of that, because it does get a little too dewy on me and and it wears off a little too quickly. But with this, it might have better staying power. We'll see. Next, we have this one from Pure. This is the Liquid Veil 4-in-1 Spray Foundation. This one I need to use up soon because I do think that this is expiring, and that like it's got a really cool like serum-like foundation, but I'm just noticing it's just kind of changing a little bit. So I definitely need to like work on using this up like very soon. Next, I have another one from Physicians Formula. This is in the shade Fair Porcelain. So my camera cut me off, but thankfully it was right on this last foundation that we were talking about. So this one is a deeper shade. It's a little bit more on the rosy side, which I like. It's got a very soft, glossy formula, really beautiful. And I think this will be a great mixer as well. I really like the way this looks on the skin. It's very radiant and beautiful. And but this shade is very light. This is the shade, I think, Porcelain, like the fairest shade they might carry in this line, which is why I think this line might not have done so well, because this is a pretty deep shade for their lightest shade. But I do think this is a nice mixer for some of my more matte foundations that are a little bit too light for me. Very beautiful. Next, we have this one from Fenty Beauty. This is the Hydrating Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation. This one I have not used yet. A little on the beigey side for my skin, but not too bad. It's got a very glossy, luminous formula. Mine is in the shade 150, so the same shade as my Pro Filter Longwear Foundation. Next, we have this funky foundation from TLM. This is the Foundation Color Changing and Adjusting Naked All Day Flawless Lit from Within Complexion Perfecting Flawless Finish SPF 15. This I picked up from an Instagram ad. I had this whole idea I was going to do like funky products, a whole video of like weird products on my channel, but I never did that. But this foundation I hung on to, even though it's kind of like a funky formula. But I figured I might need to lighten some foundations and maybe I could use this as like a mixer. It is supposed to adjust. It's taking a little longer than that L'Oreal version, the L'Oreal BB cream, but it is supposed to adjust to your skin tone. But it really does take quite a bit to blend. But as it blends out, I do think it is matching to my skin tone, and it doesn't seem like it's too heavy of a foundation. It's got a nice finish, very glossy. And I do think it's adjusted to my shade, and I think that it could be helpful for deeper foundations potentially. Next, we have this beautiful foundation from Pretty Vulgar. This is I think this is like Aqua Lava or something. I can't remember what this is called. It's got a beautiful bottle with this little bird on top. It's really pretty. And I like this foundation. I like it a lot better with my e.l.f. primer because I find that it doesn't separate as much on my forehead. It's definitely a deeper shade. Mine is in the shade Skinny Dip, and it doesn't look bad on my face at all. I've worn this quite a bit, and I love how luminous and silky that finish is. It's so pretty. Next, I have this one from Stila. This is the Aqua Glow Serum Foundation. I picked this up from TJ Maxx in the shade Light Medium. This is way too dark for me. It's another one of those dropper ones that has a little button that pops up. You can like pump your foundation into the little dropper. This is definitely like a very pinky shade. But again, I thought I could mix this. It's very, very deep on me. But it's like serum-like, and I thought with some of those matte foundations, I would never wear this on its own, unless it was like summertime. Maybe this would match my summer skin. But as a mixer, it could be great. And I figured rather than buy the same foundation in a winter and summer shade, I can just kind of use some of these to mix and match. Next, we have one of my personal favorites. This is the Lancome Skin Feels Good Broad Spectrum SPF 23. This is the Hyaluronic Skin Tint Healthy Glow. I really like this foundation. Mine is in the shade, I don't see a shade name on here. It is a little deep on my skin, and it's like looking super patchy. I think because I've just blended so many random formulas on my skin today. I don't know why it's looking so patchy on my hand. But this is typically one of my favorite foundations. It looks really beautiful on the skin when it's not looking crazy patchy and sticking to whatever the heck I had on my hand before. But it is a really beautiful foundation. I have this on in a few videos, and I think it really looks very healthy on the skin and really beautiful. Just looking very funky as I'm swatching it on my hand for some weird reason. Next, we have this CoverGirl Simply Ageless foundation. This is mixed. Like you can see, it's kind of like combed through with this Olay moisturizer. This is a foundation I loved the first time I tried it, like immediately loved it. But then when I've tried it since, it can be a little bit mattifying on me when I expect it to be more luminous. It's looking very luminous on my hand, but it seems like it dries down a little bit more on the matte side. But it's a really pretty foundation. I do use this. It's got a great shade match for me. I do like this formula, but it's just not as luminous as some of my other products. But I do really like this one, especially with the right primer. Next we have one by Bobbi Brown. This is the BB Cream SPF 35. Mine is in the shade Light. This is one I have not used yet. Picked this up from TJ Maxx. As I'm swatching it on my hand, it's got more of like a satin finish. It looks like a little yellow for me. But again, I have enough shades I can mix this with if I need to. Next we have one from Estee Lauder. This is the Futurist Hydro Rescue Foundation. This one I didn't love when I first tried it, but then when I tried it with my e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer, I loved it. This is a beautiful formula. The shade is really good on me. I love this glossy luminosity. What a beautiful finish. It's a very like lightweight, comfortable foundation, very glossy and beautiful. And now that I can get it to stick and not break up on my skin by using that great gripping primer, it is beautiful. I love it. Next from Natasha Denona, we have the Face Glow Foundation. This is very serum-like. Mine is in the shade 40 Light Medium, Neutral Beige Rosé. And this one is definitely like more serum-like. It is a deeper shade. My goodness, that does look very deep for my skin. But it could also be a nice mixer, especially since it's so glowy. It can be a little too glowy at times. So I think mixed in with some of my more mattifying foundations or thicker foundations, this could be really beautiful, but it is very, very, very glowy on the skin. Next we have this one from Hourglass. This is the Hourglass Illusion Hyaluronic Skin Tint. Mine is in the shade Ivory. I have not even tried this yet. You can see it is still sealed. I just have so many foundations to get through that I hadn't even opened this one yet, but I really wanted to try it since Hourglass has some thicker foundations. I wanted one that was a little bit lighter coverage. This has got like a gorgeous pearlescent finish. So pretty. It is still a little bit more matte than what I like typically, but it is blending into the skin beautifully. That is a gorgeous finish. It reminds me of this Sunshine Skin Tint from Milk Makeup, but a little bit of a deeper shade and a little bit less glowy, but very similar. Super pretty. I'm excited to use this. Next we have the Misha Perfect Cover BB Cream. Mine is in the shade 21. I wish I would have picked up 23. This is a little bit light for me, but I do like mixing this with another BB cream I have. You can see it is definitely a bit gray, but it does, once you start to blend it out, it does get a little bit more skin-like. But I do feel like if I had gotten shade 23, it might have been a little bit warmer. I do like to mix this with another BB cream, the one by Purlisse, and I think that it becomes a little bit more like my skin tone, a little less cool. This is like super cool. And I have a foundation that was sent to me from BoxyCharm in the shade Medium, which is a little too deep for me. And so when I mix these two together, I think it's a really nice result, but it's beautiful glossy finish. And this is the Purlisse foundation I was just talking about, Perfect Glow BB Cream. Mine is in the shade Medium. So they sent me a shade a little too dark for me. This one is a beautiful formula, also very glossy, and mixed with the Misha, it's a little bit warmer and more golden, so it just kind of takes out some of that gray tone, and I think they make a really nice blend. Next we have the Bite Beauty Changemaker Supercharged Micellar Foundation. I picked this up because of Samantha Ravindall's glowing review of this product. I have to say this is probably my least favorite foundation in my entire collection thus far. I do want to continue to play with it and figure out what the fuss is all about, because she really loved this product and she has dry skin, and I respect Samantha's opinion very much. So I'm thinking maybe it's just been user error and I need to find the right combination or just moisturize differently before I use it. When I swatch it on my hand, it looks perfect. It looks glowy and beautiful. I really like the tone. I think it's a nice shade for my skin. And I'm looking forward to using this more and maybe developing a love affair with it, I hope. Because I did buy this as soon as it came out. I didn't get any sale on it or anything, and this was not a cheap foundation, so I really would like to get more use out of it and figure out the best way to use it for my skin. But swatching it makes me a little bit hopeful. I haven't reached for it in a while because it just looked so powdery and dry on my face that I didn't want to reach for it again. So maybe, like I said, with a different primer or different moisturizing steps before I put this foundation on, maybe I'll like it more. And I'll fall in love with it as much as Sam did, but I haven't been the biggest fan of this foundation so far, so we'll see. Next we have another drugstore foundation that I absolutely love. This is the NYX Bear With Me Tinted Skin Veil. I've used this so much. I have the shade True Beige Buff. It's got a really gorgeous luminous finish, as you can see. Really beautiful. It looks really gorgeous on the skin, especially for its price. I mean, you can't beat it. I highly recommend this if you're looking for a more of a skin tint or light foundation, I think you'd really enjoy this. It's a great formula. Next, we have the YSL Touche Éclat All-in-One Glow. This is not one I've used very much because it's YSL and I don't want to run out of it. And similarly to that Lancome Skin Feels Good, it's doing something weird on my hand where it's breaking up and not swatching the greatest, but I've heard so many great things about this product and a lot of people love it. And I'm sure I will too once I use it more, but I don't know what's going on with some of these formulas where they're just breaking up really weird. But yeah, it's supposed to be a great one and it's got SPF, so looking forward to using that. Next, I have another MAC product here. This is the Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation. This is in the shade NC15. This was a gift from my friend Chrissy, and I have not used this one yet because it looks so light. But let's see what we're working with. And this is absolutely super light. Ooh, doggy. But it'll be nice for some of the foundations I have that are a little bit too dark, perhaps. Looks like the finish is more on the natural side. It's very pretty. It's got a nice glow, but I wouldn't say it's like super slippery. It's more of a longwear, like the name suggests, foundation, but could be a great mixer. All right, guys, we're getting close to the end. Not too many more left, thank goodness. I have the Laura Geller Quench and Tint Hydrating Foundation. And this is the one that I want to mix with the Filter First foundation and see if this one can get a little bit more dewy if I mix it with this Quench and Tint Hydrating Foundation. This is another one I have never used. I picked this up at TJ Maxx, and mine is in the shade Light. And this is very moussey. It's got a nice finish though, very glossy. And it's got nice coverage too. I'd say like it's more on the medium coverage, maybe medium buildable. It's not as luminous as some of my other foundations, but it is quite pretty. So I'm interested to try this on my skin and see what it looks like. Next is my newest foundation. This is from Kosas, and this is the Tinted Face Oil. This I got from a BoxyCharm. I was super excited because I've wanted to try this for a hot minute. And it is a serum-like, very glossy foundation. Mine is in this shade 3.5. And I'm definitely looking forward to giving this a try. This also would be a nice mixing foundation for some of my too light, too matte foundations. Very pretty. Next is another oldie but goodie. I actually wore this yesterday. This is the Superstay by Maybelline Multi-Use Foundation Stick. This little guy I don't have a whole lot left of. I only have a little bit of product left. He is fantastic. The color is slightly too deep for me, but it's fine. I was able to blend it out and just blend it down my neck a little bit and it was fine. But this is so fantastic for those days where you have no time. Like you have no time to put any makeup on at all, but like you can't not put makeup on. You know, like 'cause I was going out to meet some friends at a winery yesterday and all outside, social distance, we all wore masks and such, but it was really nice. But this has such a beautiful finish on the skin. It is just like glass-like, so pretty. It does not have very long wear time. So this is one that my girl Nona would call a church foundation for sure. And it was great. We were out for like 3 hours out in the sunshine and it lasted long enough for me to go out and come home. So a couple hours, you know, it will wear off, but it's so great for the beautiful finish. Like, oh, so pretty, but just doesn't have that staying power. But I really do like this product. I did my little Tartelette palette that's neutral and this foundation, and I was out the door in like 10 minutes. Next is this foundation from Katsy Lou. This is the Second Skin Mineral Skin Tint. I love this foundation. This is very expensive. It's like $55, which is a little bit high for an indie brand, but it is a beautiful, beautiful formula. And I know Kat uses such high quality ingredients in her products, so I am sure that is where the price is coming from, is her ingredients. But this looks so beautiful on the skin. This is the matte formula, which I found that the matte formula did look like it would match me a little bit better, so that's the one I went with, but it does look really glowy. This foundation is a ride or die. It's It's so fantastic. I find this foundation super trustworthy. It really lasts beautifully on my skin, doesn't need any touch-ups. It looks like skin. Like when she says second skin, she's not kidding. It looks like your skin. It's like my skin, but better. It lasts really well. It looks beautiful throughout the day. I really, really love this foundation. We just need some more shades in this bad boy. Woo! Next, I have this one from Japanesque. It is a funky foundation. It comes with this little spatula. This one is like a mousse. It's so weird. I have used this a few times and I almost just decluttered this and was like, I'm not going to use this weird stuff. It's very funky, but it's so cool. It's like a creamy mousse like foundation, but it's like really neat. As I blend this in just with my fingers, like the finish is really like quite lovely. It's got a nice glow and it feels really velvety and mousse-like. It's such a strange consistency, but it's really beautiful on the skin. If you can see that, sorry, the sunlight's coming in a little weird at the moment because I've been filming for so many hours now that the lighting is changing, but see how beautiful and satin-like that looks? It's a really, really pretty formula. I definitely need to reach for this one more because I've really liked it when I've tried it. I think you can still pick this up on Amazon the last time I looked. It's been a while since I've looked, but I picked mine up at TJ Maxx. But it's pretty neat. I like this stuff. It's cool. All right, y'all, so we are down to our last 4 foundations, and I have this one that's a cushion from Wet n Wild. This was another one. I wish they had a better shade range. It comes with this little poof. And you've got this cushion foundation. I do like this better than the other foundations I've tried by Wet n Wild, but it's not one I reach for too often just because this was another one that had like not the greatest shade range. It's got a pretty finish that you can see how luminous that is. It's quite lovely. I also have a Lumi cushion from L'Oreal. I love this product. I wish they hadn't discontinued it. I got mine at TJ Maxx. And this is a beautiful formula. This is another great one for when you're running late. Just to throw your brush in there and slap this bad boy on your face. It's got a gorgeous finish. Really matches my skin tone. You can see that beautiful sheen. It really is super luminous and beautiful. I really like this guy. Mine is in the shade C4. I also have this compact from Revlon. This is the new complexion. Mine is in the shade Ivory Beige. I picked this up at TJ Maxx thinking it was a powder, but it's actually a cream foundation. So it is a little bit more on the matte side, a little bit more like that, very similar, I'd say, to the Japanesque, where it's a little bit more mousse-like, but a really beautiful finish. Very blurring, creamy, really pretty. I need to use this one more too. And then our last one is this one from It Cosmetics. This is another one I've never even opened. This is the Confidence in a Compact in the shade Light. It comes with a little cushion, and I have not even opened this yet. So this is the product here. It smells really lemony. It's really nice. And if we swatch it, it's like a balm almost. Oh yeah, it's like exactly like a balm. So this would probably be best with like a sponge. I'm so sorry for this weird lighting. But you can kind of see, there we go. So see how balmy that is right here? It's like a very glossy, pretty foundation. So I think I'm glad I opened this. I'm glad I swatched it. I've been a little nervous because I know it can be a little bit like high coverage, which I don't love, but yeah, I like this balmy, cool texture. I think maybe like a wet sponge would be really nice with this. So let's go ahead and count how many foundations I have. Oh my goodness, I have 80 foundations. That is terrifying. Do not be like me. I'm ridiculous. This was insane. And yeah, there's no way I can use up 80 foundations, so joke's on me. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing this little foundation collection video. It was definitely helpful for me to kind of revisit what I have in my collection so that I can kind of be more aware of what I need to get more use out of and what I have, so I can see what needs more attention and what I need to reach for more. So I hope this was fun for you guys. I love watching collection videos. I love foundation, clearly. And yeah, I hope this was fun and interesting. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And until the next video, bye-bye.